Look at me, I'm doing a challenge run video for a game that not a whole lot of people have played or really care about in the larger context of the series, but I have and do. And that's all that matters. Can you beat Mega Man powered up without taking any damage? If you're watching this, you're probably familiar with Game Champ's Mega Man challenge videos with the same premise. This is going to be a similar type of video, but with Mega Man powered up, the PSP exclusive Mega Man 1 remake that I'm pretty sure she's not going to get to. I apologize if you were ever planning on doing this game, Miss Champ. However, this one's different in that I'm doing it damageless and buster only, meaning I'm not going to use any Robot Master weapons at all. Unlike the original, Powered Up doesn't have any sections outright requiring the use of said Robot Master weapons, at least to my knowledge going in, so I'm pretty sure this will be possible, just really hard. If at some point I discover that it's not possible, the whole thing will automatically become a minimal Robot Master weapon run, where I will only be using them when absolutely required. On top of all this, I'm playing on hard mode with regular old no slide, no charge Mega Man, so yeah, Merry Christmas to me. This is going to be incredibly tough, so for my own sanity and health and, time, I've decided to do a segmented run, meaning each level will be done separately using save states. If I get hit or die at any point during a level, I have to load the beginning of said level and try again. Now, without further ado, let's rock. What do you mean that's a pun? That's a common expression. But first, this video is sponsored by Unvale. Wouldn't it be nice if you could get away from all that AI-generated garbage and just exist in a nice human-only creative space? Well, Unvale's got you covered. This art and OC sharing platform is completely anti-AI, also anti-NFT, remember those stupid things? This place focuses on the sharing and organization of your original characters, where you can chronicle and flesh out all your critters, for yourself to keep your stories organized, and for others to see. There's designated spots for listing traits, giving backstories, general plot writing, and even the ability to flesh out the universe they reside in, with the Worlds feature, allowing you to build entire narratives connecting multiple characters. World building, yay. There's also, of course, a treasure trove of other people's characters to explore here too, and there's plenty of fun ways to do it. There's the featured characters, featured worlds, and featured art sections on the main page, the recent upload section, the random character shuffler, and you can follow specific creators to stay up to date on whatever new stuff they put out. If you want to make an account and start creating, you can do so for free at unvale.io. You can even follow me on there if you'd like. Thank you to Unvale for sponsoring again. I genuinely love working with y'all. A big fan of what you're doing. Anyway, back to the video. Oh, his name's Rockman in Japan? That doesn't even make any sense. He's a boy, not a man. If you thought that because of the cutesy aesthetics of Powered Up that it's an easier game than the infamously difficult original Mega Man for NES, you would be completely wrong. At least on hard mode, but I personally feel that even a casual normal run is tougher. I'm probably just bad though. Although we have the benefit of no NES glitchiness this time around, the larger models and cramped space, combined with the reworked boss AIs that are even more RNG heavy, without the ability to even be remotely cheesed outside of their intended weapon weaknesses, kinda evens the whole thing out for the worse. So with that uplifting pep talk out of the way, let's begin. Starting at the easiest and firstest stage in the whole game by design, the intro stage. The first enemies to appear, the blasters, gabules, and adhering Susies, yes, that's their actual names, are simple to deal with here. At the end of the stage, we have our first boss fight, the Proto-Eye, and I should probably use this as an opportunity to explain an important mechanical difference between the original and this remake. All bosses in the game now have a full second and a half of iframes after they've been damaged, meaning you're no longer able to bullet spam them, at least not like you used to be able to. Any damage that you can do will realistically be in 2-second intervals or longer, so it's best to just deal damage in single spaced out buster shots as to not waste energy. You may notice that in all my footage, I still insist on spamming like a maniac anyway, and that's because of cemented muscle memory from years and years of playing classic Mega Man. It also works as just a general method of making sure I'm hitting as many damage opportunities as possible, but it's mostly that first reason. The Proto-Eye takes a lot of damage from every buster shot though, so this one goes pretty quickly. You just gotta dodge his jumps and bullets and shoot until he's dead. Yay, this whole thing is going to be easy, I can tell. That brings us to the stage select, and since we're doing buster only, no weakness orders to worry about, I'll just rank the first stages from easiest to hardest and present them in that order. Meaning, first up, it's the easiest of the 8, Oil Man.
It's sure
Although it is the easiest, it's a decent step up in trickiness from the intro stage. Things are pretty simple starting out with these cactuses, but the Shopman enemies afterwards can catch you off guard if you're not paying attention. As long as we get under their bullet arc, we can take them out quickly before they change their pattern. Some of the arcs can just be walked under, but others will require jumping in between shots to get in. Pretty easy to get the hang of though. Change key makers will then start appearing. As long as we kill the change keys themselves before they hit the oil tiles, we should be good, although even if they do, we can just wait for the fire to go out and continue on. Once we get to these screwdrivers, we can cautiously take them out to clear the top path, or we can just completely ignore them and repeatedly hop through the lower oil path without slipping. We have to make sure these two following change key makers don't ignite the oil we're standing on though, lest we be lit aflame. After some more careful maneuvering around some screwdrivers, we'll reach this room, which actually seems pretty difficult at first. There's this change key maker up on the ledge that you can only reach by jumping on the oil, which puts you in direct danger of either being smacked by a change key or being burned alive by the ground. However, I figured out that standing here to bait him into lighting the oil, then waiting and letting it burn out, makes this whole thing way easier. Now we can hop in and out of this pocket we made, sending shots at him and slowly killing him. The next room is very similar. We can take out the Shopman and then just let the oil floor burn, giving us a safer path to run up to the right side and clear the room. Still a smidge tricky, but entirely manageable. Right before the boss door, we encounter our first Big Eye, which are way less infuriating in this remake, but still pretty annoying. To move forward, it'll randomly choose between a short upward hop or a long forward hop, which can be differentiated by the time it takes before jumping. A short wait is the short hop, and a long wait is the long hop. I'm just opting for the long, cautious method of slowly taking him out as he opens and closes his eye and creeps towards us. Safety first. Now comes Oil Man, who is by far the easiest robot master. When it starts, we run for the right wall as he hops over us. Now for the rest of the fight, we can carry out a simple pattern of jumping over his first oil shot, running under the other two, getting to the other wall, turning around, and repeating. Oil Man will very frequently interrupt this pattern by doing his oil slide attack, but it's very well telegraphed and just requires a hop forward and back to avoid. As long as we're getting steady shots in throughout this process, he'll go down easily. Next up is Guts Man.
I gotta come.
Starting out, we have a bunch of Mets and an easy conveyor platform section. Some of the Mets will require you to kill them normally, but most can just be jumped over and ignored. When we reach the end of this screen, there's a Pickle Man, yes that's his actual name, blocking the way. Shielded enemies in hard mode are extremely stubborn. They'll always have their shield up when we're firing, meaning it's impossible to take them out normally. Since we can't just jump over this guy, we'll have to get crafty and make some precise shots at his exposed bits of hurt box above and below his shield. And by that, I mean jumping up and down, spamming shots, hoping that some hit. He gets excited and jumps up and down with us, making it harder to land them. It takes a while. After he dies, though, we can continue on to another easy conveyor section, and 2 more Pickle Men. Oh my god. Now we'll have to deal with the actual tricky part of the stage, which is this very specific jump at the end of the next conveyor section. This requires us to run and jump at the very end of the tiny platform to make it to the ground. It's way too easy to jump just a little too early and completely miss it. It's stupid. But if we get it, we'll be rewarded with 2 more Pickle Men. Yippee! Jumping up and down, having fun. After that, we jump down past the only baton in the entire playthrough to a long section of Mets, Pickle Men, and Bunby Hellies, yes that's their actual name, which are all simple to take care of. At the end, there's a ladder that we won't bypass by jumping down, leading to a very pathetic Big Eye. You can just stand up here on the leftmost block and let it pass under you. It's great. Now, Gutsman himself.
Hey, men only. Little boys don't belong here. We're the same age.
When Gutsman is in his regular above-ground state, he'll hop short distances from where he's standing. The goal is to stick relatively close to him while jumping to dodge his ground shakes, only running away when he's pulling a block from the ground in front of him or throwing it, where we can just run to the other side of the room to avoid. Usually he'll stick to one half of the room, but it is possible for him to corner us into the wall on rare occasions. If he starts to get too close to our side, we can run under one of his jumps, although most of the time he'll just back up anyway. Intermittently, he'll stop doing this pattern and go into his burrow state. I guess this was a feature Dr. Light and Wily designed for him, I don't know. When he does this, he'll wait a specific amount of time, about 1.5 seconds, and pop out where poor little Mega Man is standing. To avoid this, we'll need to get to the opposite side of the room that he starts the burrow, wait, jump towards the center as he resurfaces to avoid him, and then run to the other end as he throws his block. He'll do this 3 times, reverting to his ground state after the 3rd resurface. This jump timing is a bit tricky. I was struggling a lot with this at first, but eventually came up with a rhythm to nail it every time by counting after his burrow sound stops, like this. 1 Mississippi 2, jump. 1 Mississippi 2, jump. 1 Mississippi 2, jump. This pattern may sound complicated, but it's really simple to replicate once you get the hang of it, making this one of the easier fights. Next, we're heading to Time Man. The stage mostly comprises of shield attackers, shotmen, and these swinging pendulum things that all vary in difficulty depending on how they're placed. A good rule of thumb for the pendulums are to parallel their motion by moving with their swing and jump over them. We can fairly easily make our way through until we get to this shotman after this count bomb and shield attacker that's positioned in a really annoying spot. I found it easiest to just wait right here for all 5 of its shots and then gun it during the pause, giving us just enough time to make it to this little pocket before he switches his arc. After some more careful maneuvering around another pendulum and some shotman, we'll reach this spot with a blaster to take out. After this, we're free to play on the doohickey as long as we want. Grandma says we should have fun with it now because the city's gonna tear it down in a couple of days. After this is a difficult pendulum jump between some treadmills. This can be done consistently by waiting towards the end of the first treadmill and jumping forward when this pendulum reaches about the middle of its backswing. I always make sure to jump immediately after landing just in case I barely miss the window and it comes back to hit me. After ignoring some blasters, some more pendulum jumps, and more fun on the thingamajig, we hit our first Sniper Joe, which raises a similar problem to the Pickle Man. Really funny sentence I just said there. This time, the exposed hitbox above his shield is so small that we can't reliably hit it, meaning we'll be forced to jump over. If we nudge ourselves to the very edge of this platform and wait for him to start firing, we can just barely make it over him safely. Pretty soon after, there's more pendulum jumps over some count bombs. You can just jump on and off when it's not in your way. Easy peasy. What's not easy peasy is the Sniper Joe blocking the boss door. This one absolutely cannot be jumped over without taking damage, making this one seemingly impossible. However, this one is positioned in such a way that allows us a quick shot directly into him after he fires, meaning we can slowly take him out this way. Time Man is the only boss with absolutely 0 elements of RNG, meaning we can finish the fight in the exact same way every time if we do it right. The important thing to note is that you can fire at him at any time except for when he's in his slowdown state, where he'll dodge and counter with an arrow. However, this doesn't apply to when he's jumping, meaning we can sneak in a quick shot when he does this. As long as we jump over him when necessary and avoid his arrows, we can memorize his pattern pretty easily and get it every time. Actually, according to my calculations. Next up is Cut Man, who has a fairly easy stage but a semi-tricky boss fight.
I'll finish this, sis.
We can make our way through the Bunby helis and blasters fairly easily until we get to this super cutter spawner that can't be strolled past harmlessly like in the original. Right when the first cutter is spawned, we'll have to do the specific jump. I found that it's easier to start on this white block and then aim to land on the second thick green line. At about here, we'll reach a gang of Komodomas, which are incredibly fast and slightly unpredictable in hard mode. This particular batch is easy to take care of, though, if we land on the left side of the log and spam shots. The top one should die, as the bottom one throws itself off the cliff behind us. We'll do the same thing on this next batch to kill these first 2. There's one more sneaky one on the edge of the screen waiting to strike, though, so we'll have to creep forward while spamming more shots to make sure we get him. Next is a long adhering Susie section that has a couple of tight spots here against this wall and right after this ladder. Although Mega Man's model is definitely visibly clipping into them, his hitbox isn't touching theirs, so we're good. He's safe. Don't worry about him. There's then another super cutter spawner. Our starting point for this one is the edge of the clump of leaves, and our landing point is the second thick green line from the right. The 2 Mambus towards the end of the stage can be completely bypassed by falling down the far right. And I ain't talking fucking PragerU. We'll just have to make sure to land and go down this ladder right here, or we'll do this on the next screen. After taking out another big eye, we reach Cut Man. When the fight starts, it's best to immediately run off this block and stay on the ground for the rest of the battle. Sometimes Cut Man will even be extra nice and break these blocks for us, giving us more breathing room, but I wouldn't count on it. The strat is to move a short distance left to right over and over again, letting Cut Man jump back and forth over us. About every third jump, he'll throw his cutter, requiring a quick hop over it. However, I say about because this is weirdly inconsistent. Sometimes he'll randomly throw it without any rhyme or reason, so it's best to be ready for it at any time. Especially after a throw, as he often does so twice in a row. Throughout the fight, instead of throwing his cutter normally, he'll decide to do his cutting it up attack, where he'll throw a giant cutter in a boomerang formation twice in a row. All this requires is a hop forward and a run back to dodge. Since Cutman takes a little more damage from our buster than the others, he'll go down fairly quickly. Sweet. Rest easy, my precious little Cutman. I love Cutman.
Oh, look at Cutman on the mailbox. Oh.
Now let's move on to Ballman.
Time for a big bish.
Someone let out a box of live Komodomas at the very beginning of this level, and since there's no pest control man to speak of, we'll have to exterminate him ourselves. That was lame. Can I rewrite that? Jumping and shooting at the height of our jump, roughly when this platform comes into view, we'll take out the first one. For the second one, we wait on the left of the cylinder while spamming shots until it jumps into our bullets. The third can be killed by shooting and falling at the edge of this platform, but if we happen to miss, we can just wait here and let it get stuck under this little crevice. It's kind of funny. Right after are these pits with these bombs, yes, that's their actual name, which I foolishly learned the dodge patterns for at first, because I didn't know they're killable in this remake. Oops. These screwdriver bullets here can be avoided on the top path normally, and if we hop twice on the edge of the singular block, we can dodge the thirds as well, in style. However, we'll then reach another Sniper Joe, and this one's a bit of a problem. Since he's not on a lower level than us, we can't jump over him, and although he is on a raised platform above us, he's not standing at the very edge, meaning we can't sneak in any direct shots while his shield is down, since they take just a little too long to reach him. This means that this specific Sniper Joe is positioned ever so perfectly to be impossible weaponless and damageless on hard mode. I mean, unless I wanted to try and just barely nick his exposed upper hitbox, which is so hard it basically is impossible. However, there is a small developer oversight I've been hiding from you that allows us to kill them easily. Remember how I said Mega Man's model can slightly clip into an enemy without us taking damage? Well, this is true for his buster as well, meaning if we creep just close enough towards him while firing, we can clip our arm through his shield and fire shots directly into him. Yes, we can and should use this on the other Sniper Joes and Picklemen we talked about earlier. I was just burying the lead. Teehee. Continuing on past this killer blaster room and this Mambu room, we reach this Komodoma room that looks a lot scarier than it actually is. By falling down the ladder and hugging left, we'll land on this particular spot, wherein we can take out whatever Komodoma landed in front of us and immediately leave the room unharmed. After that, there's one last Sniper Joe to cheat to death, and then it's the Mohawk Goldfish Cracker himself. Bombman's pattern is easy to learn, but also easy to mess up in the heat of the moment. His main attack is to jump and throw a pair of bombs that can only be dodged by jumping straight up in between them. We can do this pretty much anywhere we stand, as he'll home in on us perfectly every time. Just not too close to the wall or the explosion will certainly damage us. The safest strategy I developed is to be roughly 2.5 tiles away from him at all times. If we stand too close, we run the risk of being hit by him mid-jump if he decides to hop the entire distance of the room. Periodically, he'll switch to his giant bomb attack that has two variants, one where it bounces twice before exploding, and another where it roughly homes in on Mega Man and explodes immediately. This is chosen at random, and we have no way of distinguishing which one it is until it hits the ground. Annoying. This is how we can deal with both potential scenarios at once, though. We'll get as close as possible to him during the animation and run in the opposite direction the second he lets go of the bomb. Either it'll explode immediately behind us, ending the attack, or it'll bounce, where we can then run back under during the final bounce. This all can be a bit difficult to juggle at first while getting shots in, but after some practice, we'll be able to take him out consistently. Not on a date, though. He's not squishy anymore. Okay, now we're getting into the real toughies. Next is Fireman. Oh boy.
Time to burn.
The beginning of the stage houses some screwdrivers that require caution but not too much effort. However, pretty soon we run into a change key maker in an awful placement. When we see it, it'll start throwing change keys at this fire bar opening, giving us no room to make it through properly. Unfortunately, the only solution to this problem is to be quick and unsafe. Yeah, we have to look cool. I know, it's a shame. If we nudge ourselves till only half of this X is on screen, where no change keys are spawning, then start running when the fire bar is about to retract, we can jump up and take them all out in one swift motion, completely missing the fire bar. After some more screwdrivers and fire bars, we reach this lava pit room with jumping change keys. I'm getting sick of saying that name. We can make it through at a nice pace until this weird section that requires us to first get down to this block behind the fire bar, then time our jump across the fire bar and the change key spawning location to this platform on the right. It's dumb and the timing can be a bit frustrating, but it's extremely doable. Afterwards is a long room full of spawning killer bombs. Once more, tiptoeing forward while jumping and spraying bullets is going to be our best friend. The following change keymaker room necessitates another annoyingly tedious takedown by jumping up and down while dodging this fire bar. They put him like right below our line of fire. I think they hate us. And now it's time for Fireman, who's in my opinion the hardest of the Robot Master fights. This one's unique in that Fireman will be provoked into attacking almost every time we shoot him. In this one, we absolutely cannot fire willy-nilly. We have to choose specific times to do so, which makes this fight kinda slow, unfortunately. His basic attack is a couple of firewalls at different heights that can all be avoided with a full jump forward. His other attack though, this fire wave thing, is way more of a pain. This also can be jumped over with a single full forward jump, but only when it's coming towards us and when nothing else is in the way, say a stray firewall shot or a fireman himself. You can see how this gets chaotic quick. We'll start by running towards him, where he'll most likely shoot a firewall or two that we'll need to jump over. What we're trying to aim for now is a simple pattern of jumping over him, following behind him as he walks, firing one shot before he gets to the wall, jumping over the shot we prompted him into, and then repeating back and forth. I'll call this pattern follow mode. Sometimes we can get him to do this for a while, but at some point he will interrupt follow mode with a fire wave. When he does this, we'll launch into what I call wave mode, I guess. For this, we'll want to wait a second for the 4 pillars to spawn, carefully vault over them into the empty space in front of him, immediately jump over him into the empty space behind him as he begins to run, turn around and shoot a shot to get him to turn around, dodge the firewall as he shoots, immediately jump to the larger empty spot behind him, which then gives us enough room and time to make the volley over the rebounding fire wave coming back at us. This ends wave mode, and we can now return to follow mode and repeat. Oh, I'm sorry, you weren't expecting a science lesson today? Yeah, if the stage itself was harder, I would have absolutely ranked this one as most difficult. With a lot of practice and a little luck, we can make it through unscathed and complete Fireman stage. I somehow only managed 1 burst blood vessel this time. I think that's a record. Which now brings us to Iceman.
Stop and frere!
This stage has an icy floor mechanic that causes us to slide if we change directions or stop while on the ground, excluding the underwater segments. We'll move through this first section with the PPs, yes, that's their actual name, by using our good old jump and spam strat. There's a surprise Kamadoma ambush waiting for us at this far end, but as long as we jump and shoot about when the first one comes into view, we should take out both of them. Right after, we'll encounter a trotty body. No, I lied about that one. It's actually called a crazy razy, you fool. We'll want to take out his head before it detaches from its body and cause trouble. If we do it a little too late, it'll leave its legs, but they're easy to jump over and or shoot anyway. After the easiest disappearing block section in all of Mega Man history, we'll hit our first footholder, an indicator of terrible things to come. These little lads move and fire bullets in set intervals, but will choose directions randomly, making for a horribly unreliable form of transportation that we're forced to use. This one isn't too bad though, we just have to avoid the bullets. After another careful PP section, there's this small room with an annoying jump over a gabiole. It can be easy to bump our head and miss it if we're not paying attention, but as long as we nudge to the very edge of this first block, then jump, we should make it. Immediately following is the single reason this stage ranked harder than Fireman's. It's the footholder room. Here we have to platform across 5 entire footholds over a spike pit, all moving in random directions while spraying bullets. Sometimes it'll be really easy, other times it'll be borderline impossible. It's whatever the game decides. I don't have any strategy here, we just have to try our best and get lucky. After that mess, all we have is this crazy razy room and then Iceman, who is easier than Fireman but still decently tough. The easiest way to avoid his ice slashers are to get up against either wall, keep our eye on the lowest one, and jump straight up right before it hits us. Although things get pretty scary when he's right up against us, so we'll want to jump over him at the nearest opportunity if he starts to get too close. Periodically, he'll do this icicle move, but they'll never hit us if we're up against the wall anyway. I found it best not to get up on said icicles unless it's absolutely necessary. If we're not paying close enough attention, they're capable of melting and lowering us right into an oncoming ice slash. As long as we do everything right, this one should be pretty simple to survive. It's just a little too easy to mess up those ice slash jumps sometimes. After the war criminal has been executed, we can now move on to the hardest of the 8 stages, Elec Man.
I'm dying.
The only 2 unique mechanics to this stage are these lightning shooters that have specific easy-to-learn timing, and these ladder sections with spawning watchers that can be ignored every single time by just holding up on the controller. Seriously, we don't have to humor these guys once in the entire game. By the way, can I just say I'm a big fan of this early to mid-2000s cyber aesthetic that a lot of game levels had? We need to bring that vibe back. The beginning portion is all straightforward until we get to... yeah. The ones in the stage thankfully aren't as bad as Iceman's, as they're split into 2 easier to manage chunks. However, they're still stupid as hell and can absolutely fuck you over if they want. Y'all didn't even deserve to hold my feet. Eventually, there's a couple of rooms with gabagools on really small platforms. It can be really frustrating to time, but we have to stall them at the right of the platform to give us a jumping point. This next room is a hard one, a gabiole platform and lightning shooter combo. There's an incredibly small room for error here, so we have to be very particular. My semi-consistent strategy is to immediately get up against this white block before both lightning cycles end. Then, about halfway through the first lightning cycle, I jump up and shoot the gabiole, which should be stalled at the rightmost side with this timing. This gives us just enough time to make our 2 jumps after the second lightning cycle ends. This can be pretty difficult to time and ended a lot of my runs. Immediately following is a big eye with such little room that we have to run under him this time. To do this, we'll need his first jump to be a long one, which will always be followed by a short one that we can then run under. We'll have to keep resetting the room with the ladder until he gives us that first long jump. To run under the short jump, we'll get close and start running just a smidge before he starts the next one. If we start it when he jumps, Mega Man's foot nudge frames will get us hit. Yeah, the preciseness of this stage combined with the footholder sections is why I ranked this one the hardest, if that wasn't clear. Now, our final robot master, Elec Man.
You'll never blast through my heart with that kind of attitude.
In every Mega Man game with voice acting, they always have one fruity one. I don't know why that is, but I'm here for it.
Maverick? How dare you call my artistic battle style by that name?
I'm like a rose, frozen in ice.
Elec Man does have a noticeable pattern that can be roughly followed, but there's just enough randomness thrown in to keep us on our toes. He'll either do a low shot in the middle of the stage that must be jumped over, or he'll do a jump shot at the left or right side that'll go over our head if we're standing on the ground. Unless there's a crate behind us and he runs right up to us, where we'll have to momentarily get up on the crate to dodge him and the high shot. It's best to just assume he's going to do a low shot when he reaches the center from either side, so we'll want to at least start our jump. However, he'll often do a high shot fake out that we'll have to adapt to by getting to the ground ASAP. At some point, he'll throw in his special triple lightning strike attack that can be juked out with 3 quick direction changes. The fight immediately becomes way easier without that crate behind us, so we'll want to bait him into at least destroying that one when he starts the strikes. If all managed properly, we can bury our gaze and end the fight. That's the main 8 finished. Now, it's time for, hell. Yeah, the Wily stages take this challenge from fun hard to infuriatingly hard. Shit gets real rough here, at least for a baby like myself. This is why I decided to do a segmented run. I cannot imagine the pain and suffering a non-stop run of this challenge would inflict on a person. I think that would just kill you at that point. Anyway, enjoy watching me experience a fraction of that suffering, I guess. Up first, Wily Stage 1. We start with a few crazy raisies, and then are immediately hit with 3 whole big eyes. The first is required to kill. Since we have to slowly whittle him down with buster shots as usual, he'll push us far enough back to make the last crazy raisy respawn, which we'll have to briefly switch our attention to take out. Thankfully, the other 2 big eyes can be jumped over with ease. After another attempted Kamadoma ambush at the end of the screen, we reach this Sniper Joe that's positioned right in front of some spikes, making him the only one in the game that cannot be clip-tricked. For a while, I tried to figure out a consistent kill setup by finding a specific place in the ladder here to hit the absurdly precise exposed hitbox, but then I realized I hadn't even tried to jump over him yet. You can just jump over him here. After the firebar section, we can quickly run over to the shot man in the next room to take him out before he changes his arc. We'll just have to do it a couple bullets at a time through this small gap. Shortly after, we make it to the Yellow Devil himself. Does anyone remember that old bad creepypasta where Cutman gets gored? I always think of that when I hear that name. Although this isn't the hardest boss fight in the game, it's absolutely the most tedious. Just like the original, we can only get one shot in per cycle, but in this one, the cycle is even longer. First, he'll do his iconic blob attack. We'll get close to the active cyclone and then follow this pattern. Wait, jump, wait, jump, wait, jump, jump, wait, jump, jump, wait. After this, he'll randomly pick from 2 beam attacks, one where we have to stay up against the wall and jump when it reaches this line, and another where we have to run towards him and wait in this little pocket for him to finish. Then we can squirt out 1 shot in his eye and let him gear up for the next cycle. All this rigmarole takes about 25 seconds. In a casual playthrough, we'd be using his weakness to do 4 slivers of health out of 28 each shot, meaning we'd only have to do this 7 times. That's about 3 minutes of just this fight, a pretty standard boss fight length. Since this is a Buster-only playthrough though, each one of our shots only does, get this, 1 single sliver, meaning we have to go through this cycle 28 entire times. At roughly 25 seconds each, that's around 10 whole minutes for this one boss fight. For you Monster Hunter players out there, that may be nothing, but for me, that's excruciating. I hope you don't blame me for using the emulator fast forward feature a little bit each cycle. If that's cheating, then call me Billy Mitchell. After a ton of nervous failures, I was eventually able to get a single successful attempt. 52 Yellow Devil, tie 1. Cutman 0.
And the author swore he heard screaming muffled behind the game's music. He watched as Cutman was suffocated to death.
Now on to Wily Stage 2. It only gets harder from here. First are several rooms with various enemy placements, nothing too hard, but then we hit this long water tunnel section. The rushing water will carry us while standing still, which we can stall by running backwards or speed up by running forwards. During the first half of the Susie section, we can easily dodge by alternating between standing still and running. When we reach these desync pairs, we can then run and hop through in little bursts like so. No need to run backwards at all for it. In this little met and block section, we can hop the first 3, but we'll have to take out the last one blocking the way. We can do this by running backwards on this block and doing a stylish 360 on him. At the end of the tunnel, we have this exhausting killer bomb gauntlet. It would be nice if we could simply hop and spam, but because of their lingering explosion hitboxes, this is incredibly unreliable. Instead, we'll have to alternate between shooting off a burst of bullets and stalling by running backwards over and over again to ensure none of the explosions hit us, while hopping over any stray ones above our ground fire. That's finally the end of the carpal tunnel segment, but we've got someone waiting for us. Oh my god, it's Queep! I'm not gonna mince words here. This thing fucking sucks. This fight consists of 5 phases of the exact same pattern: blue, green, yellow, orange, and red. We have to whittle its bubble down, then shoot its exposed core once to continue to the next phase. However, each phase increases its speed considerably, making it harder and harder every time. The first will start on the right, but we can choose which side it enters the room on by standing either left or right of the floor's center. I try to choose the same side every time just to keep things consistent. The only way is to dodge its entrance or exit is to jump over one of these blocks, or whittle it down at least 4 shots worth and hide in the corner. If the bubble is any larger, it will hit us. We have to get 4 shots in to do this. To dodge the ground laser sweep, we'll want to bait it into the direction we want by standing just left or right of the middle as it charges. Then run forward and jump over the block just as the laser passes behind us. Sounds easy, right? Blue and green are slow enough that we can dodge everything comfortably and even kill each one before they leave the room. However, yellow is just fast enough that it can be difficult to get 4 shots in before getting to the corner, so leaving a block to jump over it will be preferred. If we're fresh out, we'll just have to let it do another cycle and give us more before killing it. Orange's speed absolutely requires the block jump to avoid though, so we'll have to make sure there's one left after yellow. At this point, things have heated up so much that precise timing and movement is absolutely crucial, especially on Orange's laser sweeps. After we take that one out and leave a block, we're at our final phase, red, and unfortunately, this is where things take a turn for the absolute worst. We can just barely dodge its entrance with the block, but once the laser sweep starts, it's over. Like, actually over. Red's laser in hard mode is so absurdly fast that it is, in fact, completely impossible to dodge on foot. So, sadly, our Buster-only run is now dead. However, from its ashes, it rises once more, reborn, as a minimal weapon run. With one weapon, we can end this phase early in 2 precise moves. As soon as red spawns in, we can oil slide up past it while taking out half its bubble. Upon landing, we'll immediately turn around and oil slide at a particular angle to finish it off. There's Queep done damageless with just our Buster and 2 slivers of oil slider. Oh my god. Next is Wily 3, the part of this challenge I've been dreading the most because it's the boss rush. The devs were particularly mean to us for this challenge by giving us 3 rooms before and after the rush that we can potentially take damage or die in, as well as an entire additional boss fight at the very end. At least the original had the refight split between a couple of levels. Those cruel bitches. So yeah, once more, we're gonna have to get lucky and play incredibly well. All of these refights are fought exactly the same as their originals, except for Cutman and Elec Man, who no longer have the blocks on their stage. Fortunately, this makes them a decent amount easier. Those sweet bitches. Any seasoned Mega Man player knows the strat is to take the hardest ones on first. This is the order I landed on, starting with Fireman and ending with Time Man, although Oil Man's the easiest, so I guess it would have made more sense to put him last, but whatever. This was real tough and took a lot of practice before I could even start a full level attempt. I think I started going crazy after a bit. I was hearing things. If we're able to scrape by that boss rush, we get to clip trick some more Pickle Men and then fight Copy Robot, who thankfully has an incredibly easy pattern. All he does is run back and forth shooting charge shots and will jump when we shoot him. With that in mind, we can develop this stupidly simple pattern and repeat till he's dead. With how much there is to do in the stage flawlessly, this comparatively easy fight turns into one of the most nerve-wracking moments of this challenge. I didn't count the number of attempts I took for each stage. I think this one was probably about 70 or higher, and I only got to this Copy Robot fight 2 times out of that. The second one was of course my successful attempt, but the first ended on a heartbreaking choke right as the fight started. I was devastated. I wish I had a voice recording of that moment. After beheading Sisyphus while his stupid rock watches, we now arrive at the very last hurdle of this challenge, Wily 4. First we have a gauntlet of blasters, screwdrivers, and Susies, and just cause it's funny, I guess, there's a conveyor section with one easy to miss jump. Hey, at least it's before the hard part and not after. To make sure we don't die before Wily can kill us himself, we'll want to jump and land on the left end of this platform, otherwise we'll hit the spikes first. 30 seconds of nothing later, it's final boss time. And if you thought some of the other boss strategy explanations were long-winded, how does 7 separate attacks sound? I'm so sorry, I'll try to go quick. Throughout the fight, he'll move around the stage while switching between 7 of the 8 Robot Master weapons. Poor Time Slow got left out, I guess. However, in his first tank phase, he'll only move horizontally, making things a little easier to dodge and making him easier to hit with our buster shots. In this phase, it's best to stick to the left wall as much as possible. Here are those attacks and their dodging methods. Orange, Super Arm. Don't know why they included this one, it's just a freebie. Red, Firestorm. For this one, Wily will only shoot when we do. We'll only want to do so if we're in a good spot to make the jump from. Green, Hyper Bomb. 3 separate bombs that'll home in on us. We'll want to run up close, run back, then run close again. Yellow, Thunder Beam. 2 shots as he approaches and 2 as he retreats. Bit harder to jump over, but not bad. Blue, Ice Slasher. 3 close together on the approach, requiring 1 perfectly timed leap from the very edge of the screen to this tiny gap in front of him. The 3 in the retreat are easy individual hops. Black, Oil Slider. Well, oil drops, I guess. 3 on the approach, 3 on the retreat. We'll juke each one out by hopping back and forth and not slipping. These splotches will then stay here for a little bit and make the next attack harder. It's dumb. White, RollingCutter. This one's the worst. We'll have to jump back and forth over some and stand under others. Can't really explain this one, I just had to get really good at reacting quickly. Once that phase is over, he'll launch into his flying phase. Now he'll move in the squiggly pattern, changing our dodging strategy a little for each weapon. Come on, man. Only 2 of them are drastic enough to mention. For the Ice Slashers, we'll stand on the left wall and jump straight up for any low shots. RollingCutter, though, is actually predictable this time if we do it right. We'll want to start under his cannon and start running left when he starts to move. If done correctly, he'll bounce the first shot off the ground right behind us. Then we'll get to the left wall, wait a second, and jump at the right time to send the second one over our heads. The last one on the retreat can be jumped over and then over again if we stay at the left wall. I'm glad that 1 single attack is easier, but all the change-ups together make this phase harder to dodge than the first, and harder to land buster shots on Wily, since now he can get out of our jump range. On top of all this though, the devs decided to pull one final prank on us. In this phase only, he'll start throwing in these charge attacks. These are the only other attacks in the game that are completely unavoidable and buster only. Even on regular difficulty, motherfucker. Instead, when he starts a charge, we'll have to quickly pull out whatever the weakness weapon is of the color he's currently on and shoot him once to stop the charge attack. Yes, we'll actually have to know the weaknesses for these colors. I almost went the entire game without having to know them. This was a punishingly difficult final challenge. At this point, I was so worn down from the rest of the run that I actually got close to crying here at one point. Don't worry, that doesn't mean much. One time I cried because I thought a plushie of mine looked sad. But after a lot of practice and a shit ton of attempts, I was finally able to get it. I'm glad my celebration noises weren't recorded. That would have been embarrassing. Finally, my Mega Man powered up, damageless Buster Only run is over. But with Buster Only scratched out and minimal weapon written under it in crayon. Over the course of this video's creation, I've come to a conclusion. My frail heart is not cut out for challenge runs. However, I do love Mega Man enough that I'd be willing to do more games if this video does well. If you want to put me back in the torture nexus, let me know. I'm giving you permission to tell me you want me to suffer. I'm going to be uploading my full no commentary segmented run on my second channel alongside this one, so check that out in the description if you want to see that. Once again, I highly recommend checking out Game Champ's 6 Mega Man damageless videos. They're an absolute treat and were obviously the inspiration for this video. However, if you want to see a Mega Man game tackled under the exact same parameters as my run, you should check out this video by a channel called RollingCutter, where they do the original Mega Man 1, damageless and Buster only. You get to see all the interesting ways that run and my powered up one differ. It's neat. This person also has this video that's a lot of fun. I think you should watch that too. Go support them. I want more classic Mega Man YouTubers. Anyway, thanks for watching this out of the blue end of the year upload. Definitely a deviation from my regular stuff, but sometimes you just gotta do stuff for fun, right? Happy holidays, everyone. I hope you have a great— what am I saying? That wasn't fun at all. I think I lost all joy for video games. I can't even remember what Mario's face looks like. And I'd like to thank my Skrunklies over on Patreon. Thank you for supporting me. Prism, April B, Creative JK, Adelaide Parade, Malin, Soy Sauce Flavored Tide Pod, Chico Mode, P. Williver, Fred Shrooms, Pelargon Snarf, Siderian, Best BA Player Italy, Awesome Ace Z, Xenodude Face, Leela Hacks, Zacier, Dominic, Fedco, Sledmasters, Certainly Cecilia, The Papini Bros Emporium, Spoo, Cat Does a Thing, Tawoji, Jurgen the Bull, Juliet with a Handgun, Kongmin, JubeTube, Bubblegum Bitch, Secret Cordy 10, BC Warfare, Derpity Doo, MEB, Wow Wow Till It's Wubsy, Akira Kisho Huton, Something Here, Beta Afro, LR Hudson, Sugar Danny, Sam Wow the Sham Wow, Drywall Jelly, Cracked Vinyl, Jumpman Morrow, Michael Merritt, Soxyfee, Alora Borealis, Eliop 82, Zwinksman, Zippopotamus, Evie, Null, Lottie Scanlines, Indigo, Presser Peanut Desiree, Punbum, The Awesome GN, Shelly Sowers, Cassie May, Attica-C25, and Christophine Place. If you'd like to join these wonderful folks, you can check out my Patreon in the link in the description. Anyway, thank you all for watching and peace out.